about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal.
But as we find the president once again in sync with Putin, he's also decidedly out of sync with Congress, telling a reporter last night that he will block the testimony of former White House counsel Don McGahn. And in a great piece of reporting in today's Washington Post, we're learning more about what McGahn witnessed from his chief of staff, Annie Donaldson, who took contemporaneous notes of Donald Trump's efforts to obstruct the investigation, notes that were heavily cited in the Mueller report. Here's one of them. The notes, scribbled rapidly on a legal pad, captured the fear inside the White House when President Trump raged over the Russia investigation and decreed he was firing the FBI director who led it. Is this the beginning of the end, she wrote. And that is where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Peter Baker, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times, national investigative reporter for the Washington Post, Carol Leonnig, MSNBC national security analyst Frank Figliuzzi, a former assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI. With us at the table, former assistant U.S. attorney and federal prosecutor Mimi Rocah, and executive editor for Bloomberg Opinion, Tim O'Brien. I have to start with you, Frank Figliuzzi, because you and I have had so many conversations about this dynamic. It is personal. I haven't heard Donald Trump describe a foreign leader smiling really since he's been president. That was read out as a call. If he heard him smile, he must have seen him. Talk about this description from the White House about today's call with Vladimir Putin. What jumps out at you?
It's troubling to think that our president is finding comfort and solace in our adversary, and that our nation's adversary is actually now his buddy. So he's finding self-affirmation in someone who gets up every morning trying to hurt our country, and he simply doesn't get it. Here's how that exchange should have gone, especially if it was that lengthy a phone call. Vladimir, the report has troubling information about the degree to which you and your government tried to mess with our democracy and our elections. And if it happens again, the wrath of the U.S. government is going to come down on your head in the form of sanctions like you've never before seen. That's how it should have gone. And so when we hear Putin say at the Helsinki summit, I supported the president's campaign because he's talking about bringing relations back to normal, this is anything but normal. What we're hearing today and what we're seeing, normal would be acknowledging Russia as an adversary and doing something about it. And that's not happening.
And what does it say to you, Frank Figliuzzi, that the conduct vis-a-vis Putin could become, I mean, he never acts as though he has been anything other than emboldened. But in his mind, I mean, he and Putin talked about Mueller's conclusion that there was no collusion, not something Mueller examined, as collusion isn't a crime. But what do you make of the fact that an American president is talking to a U.S. adversary who attacked our democracy, and they're sharing some sort of commonality about its result?
Well, first, we've got to keep doing what you just did, Nicole. You just called out, and we got to keep doing it, that once again, they've mixed up collusion with criminal conspiracy, right? And as you said, let's keep telling the American public, Mueller looked only at criminality, not at collusion. So we still have what by many experts see in the report, a form of collusion occurring, and that hasn't even been touched at or acknowledged. With regard to continued relations and cozying up to Putin, Putin now has the green light. He simply has, like Michael Cohen described and others, the mob boss nodding the head, looking you in the eye. You know what you need to do, and the lack of pushing back by this government and by the president has got to be giving Putin the green light to do it again. Do it again. Help us out. And what I'm becoming equally, if not more concerned about, is the other nations in the world who are going, hey, this worked for Russia. Let's see if we can leverage some assistance to the re-election campaign.
Peter Baker, Frank Figliuzzi describing the president's comments today as a green light. He joins Rudy Giuliani and Jared Kushner, whose comments have alarmed former senior intelligence officials I've spoken to since the Mueller report came out, who thought that the opportunity for Trump was to say, I didn't commit any crimes, but I'm going to join Christopher Wray and others in protecting our democracy. Here are the comments from Giuliani and Kushner that raised eyebrows.
There's nothing wrong with taking information from Russians.
There's nothing wrong with taking information.
It depends on where it came from. It depends on